So at the sake of sounding totally hypocritical when making this video, I'm going to talk about this subject anyways. Am I in focus? Guys, it is so sunny outside. It's amazing. I seriously get seasonal depression when it's cloudy out. It's been cloudy out. It's been rainy out. It's been cold out, but the sun is out, so we're out here making today's video. So when I'm saying don't become a YouTuber, I'm saying that from the perspective of someone that wants to create art or create something that you're passionate about for a living. And for me, like, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a cinematographer, and so I'm creating this video from that point of view, and as someone that's also been doing YouTube for like 4 years now, and basically nonstop since I started. So if you're a cinematographer or a filmmaker, you're probably thinking about or dabbling in YouTube because the same reason that I did. Right. So when I started this channel many years ago, I had had some pretty good success as a cinematographer. I had had a decent career so far, but my work was slowing down and I needed to keep flexing my muscles. So I bought a cheap camera. I think it was the Panasonic GH5S. It was like the very first camera that had like a good 10-bit video quality coming out of it. And I was like, this is really exciting. I can like pick up this camera and go shoot whenever I want to and practice cinematography, practice creating. You know, after making a couple videos, I decided that it'd be fun to make a YouTube channel. There was a lot of stuff on YouTube that wasn't being shown that I thought that I could prove and show to people, like how to basically use these cheaper cameras to make something look good. So it was a good excuse to create something and have a reason to upload it and share it with the world. And so I started a YouTube channel, and I basically have not stopped making YouTube for the last 4 years since I uploaded that first video. That video took off a little bit. It got me a dopamine hit. I'm like, wow, people are actually watching this stuff. And so I kept creating. But what eventually happened was the YouTube game sucked me in. It'll suck you in. And I wouldn't not even say that I'm a good example of this. I don't think I even hustled that hard at YouTube compared to a lot of other people out there, a lot of other YouTubers. And I think this is just a good caution story for that. Now, before we get too far into this, I do want to talk about the fact that YouTube is a really cool thing. It's a really amazing space, and I would have killed to have something like YouTube when I started in my career over 10 years ago as a cinematographer, as a video creator, as whatever you want to call it. The amount of information online now, the resources that you have is so remarkable, and I think it is just the coolest thing ever. But that being said, once I started making these videos, as I do, I learn everything that I can about something and I kind of obsess over it and then I go really hard at it. And the reality is YouTube is its own beast. It's way different than just regular art, regular creation, regular self-expression. You don't just make something for yourself and upload it. Now, of course, you can do that. But in order to feed the beast, feed the algorithm, you have to make content for the audience. You have to make things for people, for the people that... In order to get people to actually see it, you have to make these thumbnails and these clickbaity titles. And I'm sure you've heard this stuff before, you've seen it everywhere, but that's the reality of the deal. And that stuff will really drain your creativity. And let me tell you why. Of course, I was being forced to create. So I was making stuff and that was exciting. It was an excuse to make stuff. But over time, that upload schedule or the have to starts to really get into your head. And then you start thinking about, well, what kind of video would people want to watch? Oh, I should make a video like that. Oh, I should make this gear video because people will find that interesting, or I find that interesting right now. But what has happened over the course of my 4 years on YouTube is that every moment that I'm spending worrying about YouTube, I'm not worrying about my own personal creations. I'm not worrying about my short films. I'm not worrying about getting better at cinematography for the sake of cinematography and improving my craft in that way. Of course, I was practicing as I was making these things, but the act of making a YouTube video is a lot of work. Each one of these videos takes at the minimum of 10 hours for me to make, and sometimes can take 30 hours for me to make, sometimes more. And if I make a full short film and do breakdown videos, that is hours and hours and hours of work, all for this. And with the outcome not being really something that I ever set out to make initially. And then what happened was that I started obsessing so much over YouTube as a whole. I'd be watching other people's content. I'd be constantly using YouTube as like a social media, like getting that hit, like what's someone uploading now? What's trendy now? And not that I was looking for the trends, I'm just like, what's going on in the space? I need to know what's going on in the space. So I was constantly watching YouTube. And what this did, which is its own conversation about consumption, but consumption creates influence, and influence can rob you of your creativity. I do think influence is a really complicated thing. Of course, when I watch a David Fincher film, I get influenced and inspired to go make something for myself. But when you watch some other YouTube videos, you might accidentally try to make something like them. And I will totally say that I have been at the fault of this. I have been sucked into that before. I was like, well, that's a good idea. I should do that too. Just with my own spin on it, right? With my own voice. And that's a lot of things that we do in creation is just a remix, right? But doing this over and over again, what I really realized is that I was losing my own voice, actually. I was losing my ability to live my regular life and go out and get inspired to create things from within instead of creating content to push out to the masses. And so where I'm kind of going with all this is like, if you're getting into cinematography now, maybe you're already into cinematography, maybe you're at a place where you think you can teach stuff online or whatever. There's a time to be disciplined and set boundaries and really ask yourself what you're trying to do. Do you ultimately want to be a big cinematographer? Do you ultimately want to be a big director or filmmaker? Do you ultimately want to be working on movie sets? Or do you want to just be a content creator? Do you want to just, make content at home for yourself and in that way? And for me, it was always like, well, I'll balance, I'll do both. And I am doing both right now. I do this half the time. I do cinematography professionally in a commercial world the other half of the time. And then the math doesn't check out, but add another 40% on there. And that's me writing my movie and trying to make a movie. These are all things that you can do all at once. But for me, in hindsight, if I could do it all over again, maybe I would do YouTube, but I would not treat it so seriously. I would treat it just as an outlet to create and have fun. That way I would have the time to have the headspace for myself and live my life to create pure inspiration that comes from life and not from content that you're watching online, from consuming and from being part of the game. A whole other topic, but yes, I do believe that you have to live your life in order to find inspiration. You have to go out there and live in the world and have your own path being created in order to find inspiration to create things that will be meaningful and impactful for you in the future. And I do not think that YouTube is always necessarily the place for that, especially if you're coming from, let's just be specific about cinematography. You will get so wrapped up in trying to create the video, shooting the behind the scenes for the video, what the content of the video is about, rather than just learning how to be a better cinematographer. And you get that from working with other directors and other people and being on set. So if I'm giving advice to someone that's thinking about starting a YouTube channel that's actually in this kind of cinematography filmmaking space, I would say don't do it. The only reason I would do is to upload something that you created because you want people to see it and because it's fun for that reason, but I would not try to get into the game. Now, I know that's a kind of hard stance on a subject, and of course, if you just want to be a content creator, then of course start a YouTube channel. YouTube is a really cool place to be. You can make money at this. You can make this your day job. You don't have to work a regular 9 to 5. That is amazing. Some sort of sustainable income, not to say that it's sustainable in any sort of way, but some sort of I can do this and now create money is a cool place to be in the creator space. And I think YouTube is really fun for that reason. So I don't discount it or discredit it for that. But if you want to be the next Roger Deakins, if you want to be the next Greg Fraser, I would suggest you not to do that. Something my friend Patrick and I talk about a lot is that these big major people don't even have social media. David Fincher doesn't even have a Facebook, and he created the Facebook movie. Just something to think about. Of course, I want you to keep watching my videos and follow along on my journey, but with that also being said, do it with limits, do it with boundaries. There's no reason to be consuming all the time, and then also trying to replicate and think that you should also go out there and make a YouTube channel yourself. Practice your craft, practice your art, create from within. Don't create for the masses of this social media content generating machine that eventually is going to rob us of our happiness. Yes, wow, that sounds super critical as I'm making this, but this is the reality of the subject. I'm going to use this platform to talk about these things that have been revelations to me and really all the stuff that's happened to me over the course of the last 4 years. I even made a video that was completely out of focus. I didn't upload it, but really it was talking about Flea, my short film, my expensive, ambitious, long short film really saved my life. It changed my life. By making that thing and not getting the outcome out of it that I wanted really gave me perspective on everything and made me realize that I was making that film for the wrong reason. And I will not do that again. I will not make content for the wrong reasons again. When I say wrong, I just mean for the reasons that were not actually benefiting for me. They were just something I thought I had to do, not something that I actually wanted to do instinctually. I really feel like I could go on and talk about this for a really long time, and I don't want to bash on YouTube or what I do in any sort of way or anyone else that makes this kind of content because I think it's really cool. I just think it's important to know why you're getting yourself into it before you do it, and it's not something that I really knew what I was doing before I got into it. Even you can see there's been a big wave of people leaving YouTube recently, Maddie Apoya being one of them, and that's because I'm sure something similar happened. Their whole life path changed. They wanted to be a cinematographer, but then they became a content content creator, and it took off so hard, and that opportunity got to them, and so they just kept going with that and eventually lost what they got into making videos initially for. And so to be able to make videos like this, I do have a sponsor of this video, and I'd like to talk about them briefly before we go, and that is Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work online. You can start with one of their best-in-class templates, or using Squarespace's next-generation web design system, Fluid Engine, you can customize every detail with the reimagined drag-and-drop technology for desktop or mobile. Or maybe you want to start an online store to sell your photography or other products. Squarespace has all the built-in functionality to get one of those up and running quickly, and I've actually been using Squarespace to run my online stores for almost a decade now. And of course, if you're like me, you're probably looking to build a portfolio, which Squarespace has a ton of features for that very thing. You can even create private galleries for client work using these tools. So if you're looking for a home for your work, well, you can just do that with Squarespace. Click the link in the description to get 10% off, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Okay, so if you have any comments on this subject matter, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear more about this sort of thing and my experience on YouTube, and just as a creator as a whole, I would love to talk more about creating art and creating something that's meaningful for yourself and for others, and how to get there. I've been really learning lately and really figuring that stuff out, finding my voice, and it's something that I don't really know if I had for a while. I think I had it, and then I lost it, and I got it back, and I lost it again, and I do blame YouTube for that. So if you want to hear more about that sort of side of things, if you want to hear about creation as a whole and making art as a whole, how to find your voice and those sort of things, I would love to talk about it more on the channel. So let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, I'm Sutra Sakurai. See ya.